Good morning, everyone.
Good
Woo!
morning.
Exciting day for a lot of reasons, but really exciting day. So incredibly grateful to all of you for hanging in there for those 5 days. I mean, you should be giving yourselves a hand and applauding. Anytime that we can commit ourselves and be able to really just prove to ourselves that we can stay committed to something that we're really focused on, we're really passionate about, it allows us to be able to collect the evidence of why it is that we're here. I went to a seminar last night. It was called The Working Genius, and I've been wanting to really get into this book that this gentleman wrote because for part of my teamwork series on some of the courses that I'm putting together, so the research that I've done. But I just want you to recognize that when I am talking about this program, Construction Management Online, there's really nothing else like it out there. And I've spent thousands of my own money just making sure that I'm prepared to be able to do the research. I've been working and mentoring under David Bayer, who does mostly neuroscience pathway research and identifying how we physically change how our brain thinks about things. And then with this gentleman, this book last night, his name's Patrick. I'm not really familiar with him just yet because most of the work that I've done with what's called the Genius Zone has been through Gay Hendricks, and he's been doing it for over 30 years. And so I've been focused on what he calls the Genius Zone, which is supported by the zone of excellence and the zone of incompetence and competency. I could tell that there were some of those strings in some of the Working Genius that I went to last night. And it just talks about the 6 different ways that each of us interact with each other on a team and who brings what to the table. And so when I'm putting my coursework together, it's really difficult in the construction industry, right? Because there's always sometimes this resistance of, well, a lot of people got into construction because they weren't good at school, or they weren't built for school, or they're not smart enough. And we know that that's not true. It's just that it's the story we start telling ourselves based on other things that are happening in life. And so when we really understand that it's not any of those things, it could very well be our learning style was different than how the information was being taught. So by me being able to take some of these other aspects and factually identify what it is that we can use in the construction industry, and then just switching the language up a little bit so that it's more familiar to you and you're able to take advantage of some of these amazing tools that many successful leaders have already been taking care of. So I did learn my lesson, I think, getting locked out of my LinkedIn account this week. So I also put my portfolio up in the chat so that you can learn a little bit more about me. Now it's not updated because I've been using LinkedIn to update myself. So when I get reconnected with LinkedIn, I'm going to update all of that, and then I'll update my portfolio as well. But it just gives you an idea, because I haven't talked a lot about me and my experience. You know, we wanted to be able to focus on making sure that this was the best time spent for all of you. But if you're going to propose working with me in the future, then this is an opportunity for you to be able to get to know me a little bit better and know some of the people in my life. So when I talk about those little devils that don't listen because they're teenagers now, you at least know what they look like. So so with that said, I'm just going to go ahead and do a cap of the 5 days. And then we'll open up with any kind of questions or comments to get us started, and then find out where everybody wants to be in summarizing these 5 days. And then we are all super excited to be able to hear how Jenny's experience went. So I know Robert's on the end of his seat, so I'm glad he showed up this morning. So we want to hear about that. And so with that, on day 1, we talked about the introduction to construction management. I do have a free course offering that is a lead magnet that talks about, are you built to be a construction manager? And so that's on our website at Construction Management Online. And it just gives you kind of a big overview of what construction management is and what it's all about. It talks about the roles and responsibilities and how those roles and responsibilities can change. It depends on the size of the project, how much money the project is, who's funding the project, what kind of delivery method that is occurring on that particular project. So all of those things could change the role of a construction manager. I'll just put a note in. This has been one of the most challenging things about being able to teach construction management, because if you are not going to specialize in one particular thing like commercial construction or residential construction, then it has to be a higher overview of the different types of administrative aspects that you can use to keep a project running successfully. And many times I'm speaking to 18-year-olds who don't have any construction experience at all, to 55-year-olds that have tremendous hands-on experience, but want to be able to cross over into the administrative and management part. So sometimes some people get lost, sometimes some people are bored, but we try to meet in the middle and make sure everybody gets something new out of it. And if you come in with the right mindset and perspective, there's always something new to learn from everyone, right? So in that day one construction management introduction, we also talked about who our inner core team is and who we're going to be working with, and why it's important to understand those different perspectives, because maybe construction management is not for you. Maybe it's one of those other paths. And so there's so many opportunities in the construction industry. We just want to make sure that we keep our mind open to what is available. Then on day two, we talked about the master plan. So in construction, just like in our life, we want to be able to basically live what we do. We want to be able to love it so much that it's just part of our natural way. So by looking at a master plan and identifying that really big vision that we have for our entire life, our job, our career, our family, having all of that really provides us a good ending point to be able to point at as we're trying to determine what's going to be happening in order for us to get to that vision. And so we talked about using construction terminology even in our everyday talk. If you're at the kitchen table and you're saying, you know, can you please back pass that spaghetti over here to me? Then they can grab it and you can practice your construction terminology. But we have that master plan and we're going to build phases. And the thing about the phases is we're using those as contingency points. So we want to make sure that when we're looking at a project that we've identified very clear areas where we can stop that project and not be hurt by it. So what needs to happen in order to get to the end of that phase and have it either be watertight or have it be in a place where it can work on its own independently. And then if the owner runs out of money or if there becomes a dispute or an issue with the project, you can at least back up to the last phase that you know is complete, or you can finish out the phase that you're in and be able to control your damages. So when we have that master plan, we've developed it into phases, then we need to understand our stepping stones that we're going to use in that. And does anybody know why milestones are called milestones? It's a really cool reason. So in Rome, when they used to all have dirt roads and they were all walking from one city to the next, at every mile marker, they would put a stone so that it would be the mile markers to the city that they're going to. So those milestones in the middle of the desert, when you get to one, you're super happy, right? So same thing in construction. we're going to set those milestones and those stepping stones to our phase. And every time we hit one, it's going to be a goal accomplished. So we really are using those as an opportunity to break down the big picture and get us to where we want to be. Now, remember, when we have certain types of thinkers in construction, and I'm going to accuse Robert of being one of these kind of thinkers, where you have to know how you're going to get there. Like, you already know what it is that you want to do, but now you need to know the exact steps. And this is what is amazing about a master plan, is that we can know the foundational base and we can have a skeleton, but we want to be flexible so that we can maneuver and move wherever opportunities are opened up to us. And moving, as long as it's moving forward, is still aligning us with that vision and with that goal. So it's not taking us off track just because it didn't follow the exact steps that we thought it should happen. If we thought it should happen that way, then we should already be at the end, because that means that we've already done it. We know what works and we know how to do it. Most of what we desire is in the unknown because we haven't experienced it yet. We haven't been there yet. So in order to understand that, we can lean on a mentor who's already been there and lean on their experience to minimize the mistakes so that it streamlines us and gets us there faster. Okay. Day 3, the 8 key foundational skill sets. So we talked about awareness and being able to just not only be aware of what's around you, but being aware of what's inside of you. And understanding that once we're aware and we see what's going on and we don't like it, we can stop it, and then we can swap it for something else. And we do that in that swap, we do an assessment, and that assessment identifies what is going to work best with the awareness that we have about the situation. And knowing and understanding that just stopping it isn't going to do any good, because something else will replace it and fill it. And we want to intentionally choose what that is going to be. And so the next one was the teacher student, and knowing and understanding that everyone is 2 steps ahead of us or 2 steps behind us. So it doesn't matter what level of construction you are, you have the capability of being a teacher. And what is amazing about being able to be a teacher is that you learn your mastery in that moment. When you have to break down what it is that you're trying to explain or trying to do or trying to help someone with, that's when you recognize that you were missing steps, and you can include those and refine your mastery and be able to really, really enjoy being the expert in that particular area. And so then as a student, we're always listening. Doesn't matter where you're at in the construction industry, there's always something to learn. And I know this for a fact because the construction industry is really just opening up into this technology field. So we are starting to gain technologies that are very intimidating to many, many people in the construction industry. And they're changing all the time. Like, literally, it's so hard. I was talking to my students the other day, and they're like, I just don't know which one to pick. And I'm like, yeah, I don't either, because they keep coming up with new ones, and you don't want to get tied to one and then find out there's something shinier on the other side, because then you're constantly relearning. And I explained this is why in construction, our younger generation that sometimes we get a little bit irritated with, we think, oh, they're really great at technology. They're great at computers because they're on games all day, or they play on their computer all day. This is not tactical technology knowledge. They are simply playing a game. Now, it helps their reflexes and it helps their mind be able to dash here and dash there. Probably a huge contributor to our ADHD population. But the part of it that we're not recognizing is they're not learning softwares. They're not learning things that we would implement then into business. And this is exactly why I took my son off of games and I put him in Adobe. I had him do Adobe Photoshop because I needed somebody to edit my videos for marketing. But it gave him an opportunity to see that there were other things to do on the computer. He thought he was in love with the computer. He's really just in love with the games and what goes on with that. And so my point to that is knowing and understanding that as a student, we have to be open and aware that there's always something new to learn. But the mind of a young person can adapt much quicker because they're used to those fast things happening in those updates that they get all the time. Like I literally will not plug my phone into my Wi-Fi overnight because I'm scared to death I'm going to wake up the next morning and not know how to find any of my contacts because it updated to probably the 5 updates that I hadn't done. So then there's, 5 seasons of things that I have to go and relearn. And this is the thing with our older generation. We're used to getting into a rhythm and with one thing, and every time you update it, then that means that's a change that's going to happen in our day that's going to take up time that we need to focus on the work that we have in front of us. So the updates are a little bit more challenging for us. So again, it's just how each of us learn differently. And so we have to recognize what our learning style is when we're moving forward in trying to collect information that's going to support our success. And the next one was leadership and mindset. Knowing and understanding that the military is really where we got most of our strategies of how to develop leadership. And so we know with that authoritative leadership that it's not working well right now with our current workforce. And so this yelling down from above and, calling on you being subservient instead of being part of a team is not working. So we're going to move forward in leadership styles with unauthoritative leadership, and we're going to do more of a support, inspire, and motivate in order to be able to create the kind of work atmosphere that we want for our company, our culture, and our employees. And then organization. Every construction manager is going to have to be organized. Again, I told you I am an organized mess. So it's something that is very individual to the person, but just knowing and understanding how that organization takes place is going to impact the effectiveness of your day. So just in everyone's unique style, make sure that your style is able to be organized so that you can manage that appropriately. Which brings us to the next skill set, which is management. If you can manage your life, then you can manage a project. It's just about breaking it down into pieces that are chewable. So being able to manage and facilitate information, to be able to manage emotions and be able to have those relationships that are important for the succession of a project. So all management is going to fall into this area. And then scheduling is going to, again, if you're going to schedule a doctor's appointment, then you know how to schedule a subcontractor to be there on Monday to start their work in the bathroom. I mean, it's just that simple. I know that it can be very intimidating coming into such a field that has so many moving parts. But if you really just break down to simplicity in order to be able to gain confidence that you can at least step in and start learning some of those different construction terminologies and construction aspects that come into a project, leaning on what you already know and knowing that you're not starting from the very beginning and that you can use your life mastery skills in order to be able to take our vertical that we're talking about for our vertical skill set development. And then budget. Well, you're all here, so I know you know how to manage a checkbook. So it's very important in construction. The only difference is that, well, and maybe not the only difference, but you're using other people's money when you're managing a project. So that money has to feel like it's your money. So if it's yours and you're managing your checkbook tight and you're making sure that you know where everything's going, that's exactly the same type of respect and representation that you want to be able to provide your client or owner. So being really focused on understanding when they receive money. So when they're selling bonds, or when the tribe is going to provide money from the budget at a certain time after they get their overflow, will allow you to know when to roll over into the next stage of the project. And so we use this budget aspect also in the planning of the project, in making sure that we're not strung out, right? Because anytime you have to stop the job, it's going to hurt you financially. So we want to keep the job moving, and the only way to keep a job moving is by making sure that your money flow is not interrupted or constricted. And then the last and probably almost as important as awareness is communication. That in construction, there's such a diverse number of people that we're engaging in, where I liken it to me when I was a little girl on the playground. I used to tomboy it up and play basketball with the guys out on the playground. And there could be some little trucker talk going on down there underneath the hoop, you know? But when that teacher walked up over to see what was going on, I mean, Barbie doll angel right here, nothing bad coming out of my mouth, nothing on the end of my tongue. I mean, it's almost like, you know, when an adult is around, automatically your whole language cleans up. It's the same thing in construction. When we're talking professionally to an owner or to a board, you know, we're not going to talk about some of the frustrations that happen on the job site in a way that we might talk to somebody who's causing those frustrations when we get out to the job site. So we need to be careful about it. Construction is recognizing that we can be a more professional atmosphere all the way from the top to the bottom. So you are always the role model. So trying to make sure that, you know, you are able to clean up any language that you can do on a job site through communication will show respect to those who are on the site. At the same time, I personally believe that when the hammer has to come down, that it's good that they know that you can get right in the dirt with them and be able to talk the same language they're talking. So I'm not going to say I don't like to do it. So I was raised around it. It's just part of what we do. But knowing and understanding those different languages is really, really important when you're trying to get the work done in an industry that has really just such a broad spectrum of responsibilities and levels of responsibilities in who you're engaging with. So we always want to keep that with understanding with communication. And then also with communication, understanding, again, simplicity and clarity are huge in being able to make sure that direction and instruction is being provided in a way that you're going to get the end deliverable that you're looking for. So making sure that your communication is able to achieve that so that you can have a successful project. And then on day 4, we talked about the knowledge transition bridge. So understanding, again, our own personal skill sets. What is our zone of excellence? What do we just do that is so absolutely easy for us that people are like, wow, you did such a great job. And then we're thinking, how could you ever do anything like that? And then the person is thinking, well, that was really easy. I don't understand why they're giving me such accolades. Well, that's because that's your zone of genius. That's your zone of excellence. And so we want to try to stay in that zone as much as possible our entire life, because it allows us to accelerate the efficiency of our work. But the other thing that I want you to recognize is that we can't always be in the zone of excellence. And sometimes there's some really shitty work that we have to do that has to get done, and somebody has to do it. Okay. The problem with people doing that work that's not so fun to do is not recognizing and saying to yourself from the mindset and perspective, yeah, I really don't like doing it, but it's not going to take very long. And if I just grind down and get into it and get it done, then I can move on to something else that I really enjoy. So I think that when you purposely identify the time frame that you're going to be stuck doing something that is in an area of frustration or dislike or disempowerment, that where we don't want to be, we can at least go through it knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And that's really, really important. I think most of the time, the reason why people start getting depressed or anxiety or stress in the industry is because they are constantly in reactionary mode and they're not identifying how much longer is this going to be in order for me to be able to know I can stick it out, stay on top of it, get it done, and move on to the next thing. So really, really important skill set and tool that we need to be able to work on. And then also in the knowledge transition bridge, knowing and understanding our 3 areas of those skill sets. So we have innate and inherent, which is going to be just ingrained in our DNA. It's how we were built, the genetics we got from mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, all of that. And those are going to make each of us unique. It's as unique as a fingerprint. But what makes it even more crazy is the learned experiences that we have gained. So learning about life and the experiences that life gave to us is going to combine with that innate skill set, and it's going to create an entirely different set of skills that is going to send us apart from anyone else. And so once we have that foundational base, that's going to be what we're working with. So we can either reshape it, remold it, or we can keep building on it. So I know sometimes, some people have really traumatic childhoods, and they use that as the foundation base for them to remold the way that they wish or had wanted it to start in order for them to be solid and successful. And then some people don't ever get to do that because they haven't found the mentorship that they need in order to be able to help guide them on what needs to happen. Because remember, we've never been there before. We don't know. So to be able to ask is a huge, huge requirement in our life in order for us to be able to move past and to where we want to be. So when we're looking at that molded foundation and pier, and we're trying to build a transition bridge over to that big vision that we have, then we need to start earning what it takes to get over there. We're going to earn the knowledge, and we're going to do that by intentionally identifying exactly what it is that we need to support areas within ourselves that might need more growth, that might need more personal development. So I'll use, obviously construction is something that we're all familiar with, but another analogy is a doctor. So as a doctor is going through their DNA, their parents were doctors, they're very organized, very structured. They are definitely going to have a DNA platform for being able to be a doctor. Then in their learning experience, they went through and saw what their parents went through. They were used to their parents rushing out of the door to go to the emergency room. So that started to either identify anxiety because that was something that they didn't like as a child, or something that causes excitement. And then they're like, oh, I so want to do this when I grow up. So then they have that foundational base that then has been provided for them. And then to build that transition bridge, you can't just walk out of the door and be a doctor because you want to be. Like, you literally have to know the human body. You literally have to know what it's going to take in order for you to be a doctor. And so those are specific, intentional, earned learning and knowledge. I'm going to kill this fly. Earned knowledge that's going to get you to the bridge. It's going to get you over the bridge, and it's going to build the fact that he's going to be a doctor. So that's going to help us with our knowledge transition bridge. And then today we're going to talk about constructing your life. So I personally would love to be able to work with any and all of you. And so all of you are unique, and therefore are probably going to have unique needs that we're going to want to be able to address. And so we do have a link in the challenge or in the notes that along with my portfolio, the link is going to be able to move you to an offer. Now, that offer is available for this 5-day challenge, and it'll be available at the next 5-day challenge, but it's not like ever offered in between, because it gives me time frames set that I know that I can focus 100% on those people who want to be working with me during those 8 weeks or during that time. But what I want you to also understand about the offer is it might not be right for you. And so it's really important that we set up a meeting before you jump into it so that we can identify what is going to be right for you and we can build out something specific to your needs. But with that said, we're going to talk about constructing your life and being able to build a destination map. But I want to stop in first and see how all of you are doing, and check in with you, and then have you first kind of summarize for me the 5 days for you, and then identify where it is that you think that you want to go, in what direction, and then we want to hear about Jenny's story. All right, so I'm just going to go left to right. Nicholas, you're on my left.
All right, well, it seems appropriate because I'm left-handed. So yeah, it's been a great experience and kind of a little different than what I'm used to, because usually in my line of business, it's just numbers all day long. And so now it's more of personal reflection and who I am as a construction manager and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and all that good stuff like that. So it's definitely good to kind of go back and but look back retrospectively at who I am as a manager and good qualities, bad qualities I need to improve on. And so I'm so thankful for being here for that.
Well, thank you. And I so appreciate that that's what you got out of this, because reflection is huge. If we don't stop for a second to look at some of those accomplishments and great things that we've done, it can get easy to believe that we need to keep achieving because we don't recognize the amazing things that we already have done, and that maybe those were really just a platform to send us in a different direction, or to try something else, or to use it as a further expansion or scaling. And so without taking the time for reflection, we continue, we were talking about it last night, it's almost like you continue going forward, and then all of a sudden your feet aren't moving, but you're still going forward, and then you end up falling off of the cliff because you're not seeing something out in front of you and building that road out in front of you, because we get so busy in our lives today and what's going on today. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Nicholas. Robert, you're next.
All right. So yeah, the way I'm feeling about it is like these last few days have done a lot for getting me into the mindset of transitioning and seeing what is my zone of excellence. And then not only that, but also kind of putting me into motion and getting me to actually take steps towards that transition. So I've been good.
So that's awesome. And I really appreciate that, Robert. Robert and I worked on his resume, cover letter, and getting everything ready for him to move into a construction management position yesterday. But I did promise him, Nicholas, that I was going to make sure that the two of you stayed tightly connected, because he is really, really focused on wanting to follow into the land acquisition, residential development side of things. And I told him about your amazing service with the Building Industry Association. And so I told him he needed to talk with you.
Yeah, I'll put my LinkedIn on the chat so we can connect.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Be happy to help.
Absolutely. Nicholas knows all those big players in the residential field. So if somebody needs someone, I know Robert was a student of mine, so I know that he is 100% ready to do what he doesn't think he's ready for right now, but I know he would be amazing. So, Sulfa Career, how are you? There
Yeah,
you go.
good. Good. Yeah, good, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay. How are you? Yeah, regarding my summary for the 5-day construction challenge, it was really useful experience, and I had a great opportunity to interact with all of you. And as I said in my first introduction, that I am moving to Canada by the end of August 2023. And the thing is that I will just get out of my comfort zone. For the last 10 years, I was working in a public sector, and it was like a 9 to 7 job, a 9 to 5 job. And I was learning a little bit only because I was the boss over there, because it was a public sector. There was nobody to question me. There was nothing to learn new. And the technological advancement was also a little bit poor in our sector. So the thing is that I will just get out of the comfort zone by the end of August 2023, and I feel like this is like a red pilling class, like in the movie Matrix. Somebody takes a red pill and come out of the unreal world, and you step into a real world. So the class and the entire challenge, it was a challenge to take the red pill, and I really thank you for your excellent introduction and excellent way of interacting to us, and the camaraderie was extremely incredible.
Well, thank you so much. That's awesome. And, it just even recognizing that we have a comfort zone, and what that is really, really big. So knowing and understanding that when we step out of that comfort zone, that it's uncomfortable, but we automatically relate it to fear, because anytime we're uncomfortable, our brain and body wants to go into a protection mechanism. Well, the purpose of that was because when we were running the world with dinosaurs, if we didn't, then we would be dead. And so it's a very high instinctual human operating system that is inside of us that uses fear whenever they feel that we are uncomfortable. The problem is that there's other senses inside of us that have not changed at the same pace. And so when we're talking about using intuition or our gut, that really is coming from our heart. And our heart works as a second brain to kind of recognize when things in the world aren't right. And the problem is the lens that we see things through, that our heart is identifying in that intuition, we've blocked out by letting that signal go to our brain and be used as an intellectual articulated lens and vision. But it's being looked at through the experiences that we personally have had. So when our brain intellectually looks at something that intuition or our heart tells us, then we're using what we've already experienced as part of the truth when we're looking at something. And it may not be the case. It may just be our own perception of it. So being able to really step back from something and look at it honestly, like Sulfakur, we could say, oh my God, he's going to Canada in August, 2 months before winter. Like, it's going to snow 28 feet in Canada. Like, oh, he's going to be so cold. He's not even going to know what to do. But we could look at it like that, or we could say, wow, he's going to Canada. What an excellent opportunity to be able to have a fresh start. What a place to be able to really secure your foundation and be able to know all these new things that you get to see, the beautiful nature that Canada has to offer. What an amazing experience. So when you're able to move forward in that direction, it automatically starts freeing up pathways for your heart and your mind to be able to see opportunity, to be able to see positivity, to be able to see all of these amazing things that are going to happen to you. So we're all pushing for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and then Ali saw that I was going to jump to him next, so he jumped off. Where did he go? All right, so Ginny, tell us.
Hey there. Good morning, everybody. This whole 5 days has been so eye-opening, and it's really exciting. It's kind of opened our eyes to a whole new avenue, a new path that we weren't aware of before. And I think kind of how you told your story about how you started and kind of your experiences, and then hearing others talk about it. It's kind of given us confidence to like, okay, let's take the plunge. And the timing of all this could not have been better. Corey helped me put together a presentation that we did yesterday in front of several tribal officials for a tribal job. It's actually 16 different projects all included in one program. And she helped me put it together and gave me some tips on kind of some things to say and what not to say, and kind of on elaborate some of our strong points. And by the end of it, the gentleman that was overseeing the entire thing walked up to my husband, who was also there presenting with us. He's also an owner, and walked up and said that was one of the best presentations he's ever seen. And so it's looking very good. Things are looking very good for us on this whole situation. We've got a follow-up call this morning. So yeah, it's been unbelievable how all of this has just kind of fallen into place. And I can't thank you enough for your guidance on all of this. And it's really exciting. And I feel like I'm learning a lot. And kind of like what Robert said, it's kind of changed my mindset on some things. And so it's not something I probably would have pursued before, just because I didn't feel like I had the knowledge or the know-how to do it. But this is definitely exciting. So I feel like we're all in now.
Amazing. I'm just so excited for you. It's fantastic because it really is an amazing area within the construction industry. I love it. I love being able to do it. I love being able to critically think through the problems and the challenges. And it really, it's just the opportunity to be the one who brings everything together. And so I'm so excited that you get to experience this. But this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that Jenny has over 25 years of experience and still said, I don't know if I have what it takes to be a construction manager. And this is the part that I just really want people to be able to understand, because this is why we're not able to get people into the construction industry, is because first and foremost, they're like, oh, that's hard work. I don't want to do that. You know, it's something that, you know, I heard how it broke my dad's back, and I don't really want to be a part of it. The thing about it is that we've taken work really out of the venue of our younger generation by them going to school in a type of situation where they remove all of our vocational education. They're no longer doing things to work with their hands. They're sitting in their room playing games as they're watching a Zoom class or something. And what it's done is it has removed the feed of the endorphins that allow us to be able to have motion as the key aspect that keeps us alive. Again, survival, right? So we had to gather, we had to go out and pick berries, and we had to go out and hunt. So by removing these things from the human operating system, we start to deaden or numb some of the other wait one second. I told you I always forget things, right? So some of the other, I don't want to use skill sets, because it's actually instinctive to what it is that we're building on. And so we've numbed some of those characteristics, and by doing that, it makes it harder, or we start telling ourselves and believing, well, I really don't want to work hard. Well, even my young son, he says, oh, I don't want to work hard. And then I send him out to do something. And when it gets done, he comes in, he's like, did you see what I did? It looks great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely. It looks amazing. And he goes, what else do you have for me? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And so we just need to recognize that we don't have to be there very long. We don't have to stay there forever. If it ends up not being what we want to do, we use that as part of our learning experience so that when we become a construction manager, we know what it was like. We change how we treat that person who's doing it now. If you go to school and you go straight into construction management and you start trying to tell people what to do, and you haven't been in a trench for 8 days trying to shovel, you going there for 20 minutes with a bunch of energy isn't going to impress me. Do it for 8 hours and then we'll talk. Okay. And plus, you've been sitting in an air-conditioned truck for the last 7 hours. So you coming over here and digging really fast for 20 minutes is not impressing me. Okay. So having to go through what I call this order of precedence, and to be honest, I think that this is part of the construction industry's own fault, right? We've created our own monster. We have promoted people into positions that they didn't quite deserve in order for us to be able to have a butt in the seat so that we could tell the owner that we had that position filled. And what has happened is we've allowed them to skip over the important experiences and knowledge of learning what it's like to be in that position that they're managing or that they're instructing. So even in a situation where you can have a younger person who has worked in the field and has started working their way up, they can move past an older or elder worker who's been working in the field forever and have a successful leadership relationship with that person, so long as they have been able to appreciate what that person does on a daily basis. Because honestly, there's times when I wish I was still a laborer, because at the end of the day, I didn't have to think about anything. And on Friday, I was out until Monday morning. Like, when you're a project manager or a construction manager, 24/7, no one's going to think about not calling you or making sure that, if the water line breaks on Saturday, you're getting a call. Okay. So becoming a construction manager, project manager, you have to love it because it becomes part of your life. The recognizing is when we get more into how I would mentor you and help you design your destination map, is understanding those time blocks so that we can have sacred personal time, so that we can have those down times that we need, even when the world thinks it's falling apart. It will still be here tomorrow, unless, of course, God has come for the rapture and then we're all done. So just pray. Okay. All right. So with that, does anyone have any questions? Okay. So from this point on, I'm hoping that I get an opportunity to meet with each of you individually so that we can design a plan. But if you're going to be designing this plan on your own, there's a few things that I want you to be able to take a look at. And so identifying this destination map, this is going to be part of our back pass of our master plan. So on the first day, you identified a job description for becoming a construction manager. And in that job description, it very well said, I'm going to be a construction manager for a residential development. I'm going to be involved in the procurement of land acquisition and know and understand everything there is in residential development from beginning to end. And I'm going to meet some amazing investors who are not sleazeballs, who are going to be guys that are going to mentor and lead me and provide me with all aspects of knowledge that I need for this particular industry. And when I have that job description, I'm going to see that it is going to make available to me an absolutely beautiful home for me to have. And in that home is a beautiful wife and happy children with a golden retriever dog. And it never digs any holes, and it simply runs and plays on the grass with my children all day long. And as I'm looking past that white picket fence, I can see my 350 red Ford that I drive to work every day and guzzle gas, because I literally just put like $180 in the gas tank yesterday, which it didn't even fill the tank. But anyway, you see that vehicle and know that this is part of your future. This is what you've created for yourself. And in that moment that you're standing at your front door on the porch, you can feel an actual physical release of calm over you, and recognize that you love this job so much that there is no stress, no anxiety in your life, and that you have built great relationships. And it is a fluent and beautiful opportunity that you've created for yourself. Okay. So that's where our vision is for this master plan that we're developing. And so when we're doing our back pass and we've identified our areas, we're all right now kind of in the first phase. So in that first phase, and this applies to everyone, no matter where we're at in the industry, we want to make sure that our personal branding and profile is exactly where we want it to be. So one of the very first things, and again, just makes me mad that LinkedIn is being this way, but one of the very first things is that you're going to want to get on LinkedIn, and you're going to want to start building that personal profile. And that personal profile is going to start with inviting everyone that's on this call into your friendship circle, and being able to start having a community of support of people who you share commonality with. And your commonality is visiting me here on this 5-day challenge that we were able to work through these last 5 days. So building that personal profile and really branding out there who it is that you want to be. Now, sometimes there's a temptation of, well, I don't know what I want to be, and and there's so many opportunities in construction that I don't really want to refine it too much. I don't want to just put a title of myself in there that makes people think that I only want to do residential construction. But the problem with that is that if you don't focus on exactly who it is that you want to be and who you want to present, is that you're not going to attract the right people. So the people that are going to be looking for you are going to only be spending about 5 seconds to 10 seconds on that pass of you, your title, and who you are. So you want them to be able to capture the most important information about you very quickly. My profile is not perfect, but I definitely encourage you to go on to it and steal whatever you want from it in order to be able to build your profile the way that you want it to look. The other thing in recognizing that is that when we're putting our profile together is that we want it to be professional, and especially on a site like LinkedIn, but we also want to invite people to personally get to know us. And this can be done in a way, I'm a very private person, and so it's difficult for me sometimes when I share things outside of what normally would be business. But if you're just all business, then it becomes kind of mechanical, and you don't really seem necessarily as real as someone might want to get. So, just think about how that presentation of yourself is going to be, and start building up that branding and that profile, and that will really help you. And then when you're just looking forward in your destination map and you identify, where it is that you want to be. Oh, I know what I want to say. Sometimes, have you guys ever heard you got to fake it till you make it? Sometimes we need to project where we want to be and not necessarily where we have been. Okay, so in order to grow into the new shoes that we've created for ourselves, sometimes we have to be able to think and act like that person in order to be able to feel what it's like to be pulled up into those shoes. And obviously, finding a mentor, in my opinion, is one of the most important things that you can do, because you can lean on their experience of what they already know and where they've already been. And so identifying who that is. Now, I have mentors. Tony Robbins is a mentor of mine. Okay. I've only met him twice. He has no clue who I am, but he's a mentor of mine. So you don't have to actually know or have a personal relationship with your mentor, but it helps, because then you can call them just about any time, you know, oh my gosh, this is happening. The world's falling apart. What do I do? Okay. But you don't have to. So identify, you know, at least anywheres from 3 to 5 mentors who mentor in different areas, not just everybody doing the same thing. But I have a mentor. Brandon Bashar is a mentor in personal development. David Bayer is a mentor in his neuroscience mindset that he does. Tony Robbins is a mentor in power of positive thinking. You know, I mean, I have mentors in different areas. I have a guy named Hal Johnson, who's my construction mentor. He was a professor at Cal Poly University and actually established that entire program. He and I try to talk almost every Friday, mostly because he's retired and bored, and he loves still being in the minutia of education, and he's so absolutely knowledgeable and wonderful. I mean, he's just amazing, and I owe so much to him. And so it's just being grateful and being able to support yourself by identifying different mentors in those different paths. And so when you're looking at, again, the stepping stones, it would be create branding for yourself, identify a mentor, and then the next thing are going to be powerful questions. So just like Nicholas was saying in reflection of what has happened in the past and what he's been able to complete, and then knowing and understanding that there are areas that he wants to be able to expand on and be able to be closer to his inner self and reflect on that, is that we want to be able to ask ourselves powerful questions. If you ask yourself, I wonder why I can't do that. Well, if you go, I wonder why I can't do that, and your brain is like a Google search machine, and it says, well, hey, I'll tell you, wait, I'll tell you why you can't do that. And it will come up with 20 reasons why you can't do that. But if you say and you turn powerful questions, and you're constantly in the mode of, construction management is something that seems like it's going to excite me. What is it that I need to do to prepare myself to become a construction manager? Search engine. Oh, 10 things. Oh, I'll tell you that. You need to work with Corey. No. You need to go to a 5-day challenge. You need to watch the videos on LinkedIn that she puts up about all of the different topics in construction. Okay. So that's what your brain is going to do. So really identifying, and they could be like 5 powerful questions. You could ask yourself the same question every day. It's going to give you different results. The same thing as Google would do. So identifying those powerful questions. And then one of the last things that you're going to be doing is, once you've determined where your vision is you're going to be looking at, what is it that I really want to be doing, and who is going to help me get there? Okay, so I would identify somebody in your industry that you're looking at who is already at where you want to be, and then start understanding that person. Start understanding the path that got them there. If you can touch base with them and interview them and ask them questions, that would be absolutely amazing. but start replicating what they've done and follow some of the pathways that they have developed. And then in that, it's going to start opening opportunities for you where other individuals who have similar qualities or similar success are going to be put into your path. And then that's going to start identifying different types of job titles that look interesting to you, different companies that do that same thing that look interesting to you. And it's going to start opening up an opportunity for research of who you want to work for and where you'll be working. And so just start kind of building a list. Remember, we call it the parking lot. Just start building in the parking lot these different lists of companies and positions that you want, that you're going to be working towards, and start identifying job opportunities in those locations. Okay? So that's going to get you started on that destination map. Does anyone have any questions? No questions. All right. Well, that hour went really, really fast. And I just want to thank all of you so much again for investing in yourself and being here for all 5 days and really making my day, and the beautiful compliments that you all gave in your summaries. I really do appreciate it. I do this because I love to do it, and I want to be able to be there to help you be as successful as possible. So I hope I get the opportunity to work with you. I see Nicholas put his LinkedIn there in the chat, so you guys will want to grab that and connect with him. And then also stay connected with us on the Facebook group. It is a small group right now because I've only done a few of the 5-day challenges, but you can tell that the people and the quality of those people in those in that Facebook group is going to be super, super great, because they're the people who are on either side of you right now. And so it's a great opportunity to be able to ask questions and respond. I'll be able to respond to those and keep the discussion moving. So thank you again, everyone. Make sure that if you do want to set up an appointment, to go ahead and click on the Facebook challenge in the link that's been offered in the chat. And I will see you all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Have a great day.